I know it's healing for me. Yes, being in person is very powerful and important, but sometimes we don't have the energy or the space for that. And just knowing you're not alone in what you're navigating changes the game. That in of itself really can get you moving again and being back into the motion of life, because you're still here. You are supposed to be here for however long, and honoring that and blowing that off and staying in a victim mode and not truly going, no, I am here and there's something more I'm supposed to be doing about it. I mean, that's kind of, to me, that's like dishonoring your life. Grief has a way of cracking us open in ways we never asked for. But sometimes what rises from that brokenness is a message, a mission, and a way of helping others heal. My guest today, Melani Sessa, has walked through unimaginable loss. And instead of letting it silence her, instead of letting it paralyze her for the rest of her life, which once you hear her story, that would be understandable, she found a way to give it a voice. Melanie is also one of my longtime clients, and as a multi-passionate person with more than one mission in this lifetime, she came to me wanting to meld them together in a way that wouldn't confuse her audience or turn them off. And what happened is incredible. She's now helping thousands of people while also making thousands of dollars. This is exactly why I created my new program, Selling at Scale. It's for entrepreneurs who want to bring their message to more people and create more abundance without trading more time for money. I'm offering a special pre-launch sale right now for this very first round. It is the only time this will be done 100% live with me coaching you through every single step. So you can grab your spot by going to projectmewithttiffany.com/ pre-launch sale. You can swipe up. It's in the show notes. It's here in the description on YouTube at Project Me TV. And this is not going to be going on that much longer. So you get $1,000 off, and you are going to be shooketh when you see the insane special bonuses in there. And these are not swipe files or just some more video modules stuffed in there that you're never going to use. This is something that we have taken 2 years to create and develop, and it actually could put me out of business. So go look on the page. All the details are there in Virgo style. So all of your questions will be answered in there. And I have made it where it's a no-brainer, so you can pay in full, but we've also offered an insanely generous payment plan so that this is accessible to everyone. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. I want to give a trigger warning for the first part of this episode. And if you are someone who is not wanting to get into the weeds of a discussion around grief, you're just not in a place to absorb that at the moment, that's okay. I want you to know this episode will be here waiting for you when you are. But it's a really important conversation that we have, and it ties into business, it ties into money, and in an unexpected way. And I knew that this conversation had to happen with one of my longtime clients, who I'm going to let her tell her story, but something unimaginable, unthinkable, the worst thing you could possibly imagine as a parent happened. And now she is using that in order to collectively help tens and tens of thousands, which I know will be millions and millions of people, feel less alone in their grief and be able to navigate it to where their life is still worth living. Because my guess is you were at a point where you didn't feel like it was. Like take us back a little ahead of time to what led to this unraveling, because I know the details of the story. And I would say my first question to you is, did you have any divine premonition or motherly gut instinct that this could have ended this way?
That's a really great question. And thank you for asking that. So I have a story around that. Now, as a parent, you don't ever expect your child to pass before you, ever. The week he passed on a Thursday afternoon, a Thursday evening. That week before, that weekend before, we had planned to meet on Friday. And as a person of faith, I use fasting. Fasting is part of my faith journey. And so I felt the nudge of God to say, you know what, Melanie, fast, because you're going to be meeting up with your son on Friday. You haven't seen him in a long time. And, I just want to make sure that we have a great time together. And so fasting is something that I was called to do. So I just felt to fast for 3 days. So I fasted Thursday. He and I are talking. See you tomorrow, Mom, right? Yep, see you tomorrow, Tone. And then that night, and I didn't realize this until maybe a week or two later, when he passed, God gave me this vision that, that fast that I had you start, it wasn't for your time with Antonio. It was for that time when you got the most awful news, that your heart was as prepared as possible for the spear of emotion and trauma and everything that was going to go through, that you were as prepared as possible. So when that spear went through your heart, I was there protecting you even more so. Not that God changes his protection, but that you were emotionally and spiritually prepared for that.
Did you have an element of shock when you found out?
Absolutely.
So this wasn't I was worried I'd get this call someday.
Um, yes, I did feel that a little bit, that this could happen. This could happen. Because I wasn't with him. And, as a mom, being able to take care of your kids, knowing what they're doing. So that call was the most horrible, horrendous, traumatic thing. And then speaking to the doctor, because he ended up passing in an emergency in the hospital. I don't know if it was an emergency room or not. That kind of a cold conversation with the doctor, like I couldn't even imagine. Like I replayed in my mind, and I feel bad for the doctor now, but at that time I'm like, are you kidding? You just told me my son passed, and now you're saying to me, well, when are you going to come to collect him?
Oh my gosh.
So I lived about 3 hours away from him. So I'm like, I'm sorry, it's 11 o'clock at night.
And what did that look like in, let's say, that first 2 weeks? Like if we were able to be a fly on the wall or following you around, what did that grief look like on you? And I know it's different for everybody, but I think it's important for people to know what like real grief looks like, because I know myself, having gone through quite a bit of grief in my life, I judged myself a lot of times for how I was grieving, like that I needed to like get it together. How long am I going to feel this way for? So what did that look like for you?
Well, gratefully, I have an incredible community of family and friends. Those first couple of weeks between my community and my family, I was supported in so many ways, which is so important. If you love someone who's lost someone, loving on them is so important. But for me personally, it was so important to have that because I couldn't function. Like, what do you do with that? I have two other children, so I was present for them, but as far as like my life, I just sat on the couch. I sat on the couch and I welcomed people who came in who wanted to pay their respects. But I just couldn't function. I kept replaying the day over the whole week. And that's when the story that I just shared with you about my fasting, that's when I kept thinking about everything. What ifs could I have? What could have been done differently? Why didn't I just say, hey, I'm coming Thursday night? Like so many different things, what ifs. But I also felt very, very loved and supported. And I know that's not always common, but it was for several weeks that I had that support and love, which was so necessary. I mean, I was on my bed one day. I remember my girlfriend came over, just laid down with me on the bed. Didn't have to talk. Just I knew she was there.
How
She'd known my
beautiful that you have that.
so
And I'm
important to
sure
have
in
that.
the community that you've now built, this beautiful grief community, which you guys can swipe up and go to the show note to access that. There are so many people, I'm sure, that have said to you, like, and they don't have that kind of support in their life.
So true.
And I did, and I'm one of them. And what words do you give for people who don't have all this family and all these people coming? They feel like they're kind of alone in their grief, because something that I know I've experienced with grief is it makes a lot of people very uncomfortable uncomfortable, almost like you have a contagious disease. So they
Mhm.
might be around then initially to give you respect and, bring over a casserole or something. But it's so heavy and it's so much. A lot of people just aren't capable of holding space very long in it. And inadvertently, they kind of like disappear and you're left with yourself. Did you have any experience in that?
So sure, I did. There were people who I thought would be there who weren't. But then there were people who I never imagined that would be there that were. It's an interesting thing what grief does, what loss does. And I have to be quite honest, before I've experienced this, it's very uncomfortable to be around somebody who is grieving for so many reasons. You don't know what to say, you don't know what to do. It feels like, oh wow, I don't want to mention the person's name, the loss, because I don't want to bring pain, which all of that is not true. I used to think that too. There's no judgment. But the most, it was very unfortunate that people who I thought would show up didn't. But again, I had that community that did. So what do I say to my community now that I in it unintentionally created on Instagram? Is I just tell them they are not alone. And I get messages all the time, kind of like what you were saying, is I don't have this, I don't have that. I've lost my faith. I've lost my friends. Family doesn't even want to talk. And yeah, that happens sometimes too to me still. People don't want to mention my son's name. I bring it up because
Mhm.
I'm the keeper of his memory. And so I find that that's very important. But yeah, I think it's really important to love on your grievers. And I put a free resource together for my community for people who want to know what to say and what to do because I didn't. And so I'm sure millions of people didn't know either.
Yeah, the only reason I don't know what the right term is, I have confidence or comfortability in what to say is because I experienced so much of it early on
Mm.
that I'm okay. I can do it because I know what I wish was said to me and not said to me. But I mean, yeah, it's almost like, is there grief etiquette? And then it's uncomfortable. Plus, it's heavy. And if someone's already has some heaviness in their life, they don't want to be around more heaviness. And it doesn't mean they don't love you. It's just they're trying to protect themselves, but it feels so personal. Or maybe I should ask first, was there any point where your faith wavered? Like, God, why did you do this?
So of course, I questioned God and I was very angry that I didn't have a different outcome for my motherhood with my son, but I didn't lose my relationship with God. That was of the things that I did and had and already possessed. That was the most important thing because of my understanding of what I believe, that I believe there's a day you're born and I believe there's a day you die that's already predetermined. That was the comfort in a way. I still wasn't happy about it. I was like, why did it have to be this way? I've been praying for my kids over my kids since the day they were born. How come this is it? But I didn't lose that, but I know a lot of people do, and they tell me.
It sounds like how you connect that with faith and to shift from why me, God, why Antonio, God, was you having true faith and surrender that, there's a power greater than yourself, where this was already like preordained. This is predestined, and there is nothing you, your husband, your family could have done to have changed this.
That's exactly what I believe. And for me, that puts a lot of guilt or shame where it doesn't belong because I'm not in control. And I think that people believe that life should just be happy and things should go well. And you know what? Whether you have a faith in God or faith in something else, or I don't remember anybody who's ever had a life without something traumatic or hard or whatever. We're all going to go through stuff. You get to choose how you're going to go through it.
When you experience people, whether it's in like your personal life, professional life, in your grief community, that you can tell get stuck in it. And I mean, my definition of someone who's stuck in it is the opposite of how you navigated grief so gracefully. And not that there's right or wrong, but there is a grace in it where you've moved with it, like a current. But there are people who get stuck in it and become a victim of it. And there's for sure people listening who feel stuck in it, like almost like a quicksand. They can't get out of it. And it's been like 2 years, 4 years. I mean, I still hear people talking about people who have passed and it's, like their fathers passed and it was like 5 years ago. And I'm not saying, well, you should be over it. You never get over it. But there's not been much moving through it. I would love to hear your take on that and share how you helped yourself kind of get into some motion again.
Yeah. So again, I have to just underline my faith, right? That for me was the most important thing. I think people get stuck in grief for a couple of different reasons. One could be that if they walk not through it, not leave it behind, but if they walk in a way that people think, oh, you're over it, it's a dishonor to the person that they lost. And that's not true. It would feel that way, right? Because how many people in other cultures dress in black forever
Like
because they
even
mourn.
a full year in some cultures, or some cultures I think they don't even, I think in Judaism they sit Shiva, and I don't know how long it is. It's quite a long time.
Yeah. When I was in college, I was a study abroad student in Spain, and the grandmother wore black all the time because her husband had passed however many years ago, but she
Wow.
wore that uniform of grief. And there's honor in that. But I think for me, it's you get to choose how you're going to look at things in life, regardless of emotions. Emotions are important, but they're not dictators to your choices. You can make them, or you can say, you know what, I am grieving. I am sad. I cry every day. Let's just put it out there. I'm not just like, yeah, my son died and whoop-de-doo. No, I cry every day, but I also think about it this way, and this helps me. Not many moms get to have the privilege of bringing their child into the world and sending them off to heaven. I got to be there for his whole life.
Wow. That makes me want to cry. I
Yeah.
never thought of it that way.
Yep.
Wow.
It's a choice. And if I chose to be sad for the rest of my life, like to live my life as a sad, grieving person, like, what the definition of, how is that honoring the life that I still get to live, that he didn't get to live? I'm the keeper of his memory.
Yeah, and how do you want to keep his memory, his soul, his imprint that he had here alive? Someone needs to keep it alive or it fades. And I want to be a great steward of that.
Yeah.
Hearing stories like Melanie's is such a reminder that our pain and our purpose can coexist. Also, that we have no idea how much time we have here on this earth, and time is something we can never get back. So, continuing to hold ourselves back from serving at our highest level, from doing the things that we want to do, from creating the life that feels so exciting to wake up to every day, don't wait for another moment. Don't waste another moment. And while we're talking about creating something meaningful out of hard seasons, I want to pause for a moment and share this with you. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Your sign to fully lean into your gifts and set them up to serve and sell to thousands, even millions. Your sign to finally make more and work less by designing and packaging offers that sell to many instead of only once in a while. And your sign to stop taking in more information that is only leaving you more overwhelmed and paralyzed in analysis, and start taking clear action with simple, proven strategies and techniques. That's exactly what I'll be walking you through live in my brand new program, Selling at Scale. Right now, the pre launch sale is open for the very first round, and it's the only time I will be teaching every single module live step by step. These bonuses are insane. So you have to go to the page and look at them. All you have to do is go to projectmewithtiffany.com/pre-launch sale. Swipe up. It's in the show notes. It's in the description here on YouTube. Do not wait. This pre-launch sale is only open for a short time where you get $1,000 off. Yes, I have offered an insane payment plan so that this is truly accessible to anyone and everyone. All right. Like, I'm taking the risk to do the payment plan in order to be of best service to the greater good, because God knows we need it right now. So go check out the page. Now let's get back to this incredible interview. I love that. That would make me get out of bed.
That's right.
That would make me, even though it's very hard. I mean, and there's definitely, the times where I've been really hit with grief. I mean, I could even go easily a week without showering. Like, it didn't even cross my mind, or eating, and I get that. But at some point, there's got to be movement. My guess is it didn't just miraculously happen. Did you have to kind of push yourself to it?
Yes and no. No, because I had two other children and I knew enough to show up for them in a way that would help them manage their grief. So I have My other son, who was Lorenzo, he's Antonio's best friend. He lost his best friend when his brother passed away. And then Mia lost her role model. So they were looking at me kind of like, all right, well, how do we handle this? And believe me, it was not easy, very sad. But because I was showing up, again, a choice and not in the best way, I was showing up and not just a fetal position in my bed, which would have been fine. People would have understood. But again, I had an opportunity. I had a choice to be the mom that I still get to be to those two. So I didn't say, I'll tell them it's not, oh, we're not going to grieve or we're not going to be sad. No, it's appropriate to be sad. Let's talk about Antonio. What is your favorite this about him, that about him? Eventually I was able to do that. But in the beginning, we just existed, right? For the first month, I would say we just existed. And we had conversations and we had so many people bringing us meals. So like I could just really just be and focus on them.
And you were in I guess we could call it, it's not necessarily unique, but because of the way that you generate income and the way that your business model is, you weren't like, hey, family, in the US, we have like, the Family Medical Leave Act, but where you can take a leave and they have to hold your job. But fun fact, you don't get 100% of your pay unless your company matches it, and then some people, are in a situation where that isn't an option to them, or maybe they own a restaurant, and you've got to like show up. Like there's no one else to do the job, which can be a blessing in of itself because it forces you to show up. But you had a blessing on both sides with your business model, right? It allowed, well, tell us about it. Like, because it allowed you the space to grieve without having to fake and force your way out of it. I don't know if that's the right way to explain it.
True, true. Yeah. I was able to step away from because my business is online and I was able to step away for 7.5 weeks and my business did not fall because I have certain systems in place, but I also have a support, not people that I pay, but I have people who I have a community with who who wanted to come in and say, hey, how can I support your different people that are relying on you right now? And so I allowed them. So for 7.5 weeks, I stepped away and didn't even get involved. I was like, all right, whatever, this is taking care of me and my family is more important. And it makes me sad that we don't get that. We do get maternity leave, right? 6 weeks or whatever. We don't get bereavement leave that is valued just as much, right? And so that made me sad. And some people in my account would say, oh, lucky you, a teacher. I got 2 weeks when my child died and I had to go back and my heart broke. How do you go into a classroom with other children when you're grieving your child? Believe me, in the beginning, I didn't want to do anything around other people. My first year, I stepped away from any bridal showers, baby showers, holidays, things like that. I couldn't do it because I had to keep my own heart. And everyone understood. I had to take care of me and my own heart. But you can't always do that.
But there is a blessing on the other side, just speaking of that, teacher, anyone who's in that circumstance, that's also spiritually preordained. Perhaps getting back into working and doing your thing helps navigate the grief better than it would have if you just stayed, at home. So, because I know when I lost my father, which was sudden in a lot of circumstances, went from being totally fine, diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died in 6 weeks. And so it was like shocking in a different way. And I went back, I was in corporate and I was in sales, and anyone who's in corporate sales, yes, you do get a base salary, but if you ain't selling, you ain't making money. And
No.
sadly, people don't step in for you in a corporate setting. It's kind of like it's taught in that culture, right? Like you take care of your own stuff. Like no one really steps in. I went back, I think it was 2 weeks. It might have been 3. And I didn't want to, but I needed some distraction and normalcy, even if it was to dissociate for a while, to almost pretend this didn't happen for a moment.
Yes.
And have my focus be on something else. Even if it was for 10 minutes, I was focused on something else. That was a reprieve that I needed. Is that what made you come back into your network marketing business after 7.5 weeks? Like, how did you know it was time to come back? And what did you do in order to like get your brain back in that mode?
Yeah, great question. So a couple of things. I go live every day over on TikTok. So I had that system already set up in place. To your point about disassociating, I went over there and I was the person that I used to be. I wasn't talking about grief. I wasn't talking about my son passing. And so I was able to switch something in my brain to get over there. Because listen, at the end of the day, we all have to make a living, right? And so I'm like, all right, 7.5 weeks. I gone to a meeting. I met some of my friends there who were in the same company, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like I can step back in. I had all of their support, even to come back in. Like, what do I post for content? Because on one of my platforms, people it's more personal, and people knew my story. So number one, I had again my community came in and helped me craft like the couple of posts, like how do you get back into business when you've had the worst thing happen to you? So
Because
that was
what is your focused niche or category so people know with your network marketing
yeah.
business, so
So
they get
it's
an understanding?
midlife women who are dealing with all the midlife issues, hormone imbalance, menopause symptoms, but also building a business online. How do you come back and talk about that when you just lost your child? Like it didn't, I didn't know what to do.
Well, because you don't want to be fake, and you also don't want to come across like, okay, business as usual, because you
Yeah.
also know there's people in your audience and in your network marketing business that know what's happened too. I could see how that would be really confusing. I don't know if you're familiar with her, and if you're not, and if I botch your last name, my apologies. Do you know who the like young influencer is? Emily Kaiser. It's been all over the
Yes.
news. And her 3-year-old son drowned in the backyard in their pool. And it's a horrific story, and there's more details to it. And they seem like a just such a lovely family. And her business, I think of her, and then it makes me think of you, right? Like her business is online. You're showing up, you're sharing a lot of personal stuff. And at some point, if you're not showing up, going live and sharing content, you are going to start like dwindling away your business, because you are kind of similar in an influencer, in the sense of network marketing works where you can help other people create businesses sharing and showcasing those products. And you also are like almost like an affiliate marketer where people can buy these products from you, like the ones that you're saying you recommend for their various things. And she just came back after a long time with a post, but it's not like she's like showing a product or doing a brand deal. But at some point, she is the main breadwinner for her family. They just built a, custom gorgeous house. Like there's the reality at play. So what did you do to be able to get yourself to show up with some consistency for this business and serve those women in midlife who are dealing with all those symptoms and it feel genuine to you?
Yeah. So I never brought in my grief journey over there just because I needed to disassociate and have that space where I talked about it. But what I did do on the side, and this was in August, is I said, you know what? I just need a place to breathe and to process myself. I tried therapy, and I think therapy is great. It wasn't good for me because the person on the other end of the therapy was not a grieving mother. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a grieving mother, but I needed a grieving mother. So it wasn't effective for me. I did some other things, but what I did, because I'm a writer and I love to write, is I created this Instagram account. I created reels talking about what I was going through, what I was experiencing, and people found me, and people were like, me too. Oh my gosh, all this stuff. And I inadvertently created this community where people feel seen, heard, loved, valued, that they're not alone in their grief. And that what I share, they're like, yeah, me too. And then they share their stories. It's such a vital place for grievers to go, whether it's been a year, a month, or 10 or 20 years. People from all walks of grief, I guess, are there. And so that blew up. And I wasn't looking for that to happen. I just needed a place to breathe because, like you said earlier, after a while, people are just like, yeah, all right, okay, you are grieving. What else? Let's move on. And I get that because people don't want to stay stuck in anything. Grief will always be part of me because the love for my son will always be part of me. You can't have one without the other in this journey. And so creating that Instagram account, which I didn't even know, I didn't have a plan to do it. I was actually
Right.
visiting
You
my
weren't
mom.
like, I'm trying to go viral with
No,
this.
no, I was like, well, how can I just talk about this without, people rolling their eyes? And I took an account that I had maybe 1,000 followers. I was talking about something else there. I said, all right, well, I'm just going to post here the stuff that I'm going through. And I got to tell you, that's the easiest content I've ever created in my life because it just flowed out of me and people found me. So that's why I created some things just to help them. It wasn't free stuff.
Right. You
Just
started it truly from a place of service with a zero agenda
mhm.
other than serving yourself. If it helps others, beautiful. And then you reached a point in having that where you did have the thought of, could this be a business?
Mhm.
And my guess is, and I know because obviously I'm your coach, but you had a bunch of then other thoughts come up around you even having the thought of turning that into a business. So can you share some
Yeah.
of that with people? Because we have a lot of healers that listen to the show, practitioners, people who've gone through trauma. They would love to be able to use what they've gone through and have it be a business, but then there's all this like guilt around having it be a business.
Yeah. So again, it wasn't my mission, but when you and I talked, it wasn't even what I was coming to you for, right? I wasn't saying, oh, I have this grief account and I like to do something with it. It was for something else. But as we walked through my entire whatever portfolio, it was like, wait a minute, there's a whole community there that needs support. How can I support them with what I already know how to do, whatever? And I had to come over that hump of because let's just say this, people can be really mean on grief accounts too. People said some really not nice stuff when I would mention certain things that have helped me that you'd have to pay for. But what I had to come to is, you know what? Whatever you're going through, you're going to pay for something to help you. So for if you're a griever, you're going to pay for therapy, medication, alcohol, food, vacation, whatever it is to make you feel better, right? That's could be temporary, it could be long lasting. And so I said, you know what? It matters how you make your money. And as a griever, being able to do something that was flexible location wise, because I was in corporate many years ago too. And I can't imagine, commuting to New York City and grieving my son. But I was like, it matters how you make your money. So if we could have location and time flexibility, how much better would that be? And so when you and I spoke, I'm like, all right, well, I want to show people how they can take their story that they know so intimately and use it to create something, whether it's a book, a mission, a business, whatever it is. Because I'll tell you this from what I know, grievers want to do something with their story. They feel, many of them, they feel that what they've been through when they're at this point, what they've been through, they can help somebody with it. And what a beautiful thing to do. But what do you do with it? And because you and I spoke, and I'm like, well, I have this skill set. We can do something. And I had to say this to myself. And one of my mentors, who you know, Brooke, said this: who is waiting on the other side of your obedience? Because you can't please everybody. And so there are going to be haters no matter what you do. But there's a woman out there who lost her son or her father or her husband, who has this pain in her heart. And she's like, if I could just use my story to help other people, then his life or her life would even add more meaning when they're gone. And that's what I had to embrace. And yeah, I have haters. I do, but that's okay.
Yeah, and
Because
you're going to have haters even if it wasn't focused on grief, right?
oh,
I mean, Taylor Swift has hundreds of hate pages dedicated to her. I mean, there's millions of hate pages dedicated to hating Jesus. You know what I mean?
there is, right? You
Like,
can't please everyone.
but I get what you're saying is it taps on a wound because the last thing you want, as speaking for myself, as someone who has complex PTSD and has gone through trauma, and it's like, well, like you don't want to monetize off of like other trauma survivors and like, what does that make me? And, if I really cared about the people, wouldn't I be doing it for free? But like you said, people are going to pay what they're going to pay for anyway, and people want to pay. Not all people. There's
Mhm.
a lot of free stuff on everything. You can go to ChatGPT and have that help you with your grief, right? Like you can get free books. You can go on YouTube's. You can consume all your free content that you generously give people, right? Like
Mhm.
you give a lot for free. And then there's people who want to do something different and change their life. And they want to say, hey, I went through this pain and I'm going through this pain. And I believe this is for like a higher calling, a higher reason.
Mhm.
And I need someone to help show me what I can do with that because I can't go back to doing XYZ jobby job anymore. It feels fake to a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me eventually in corporate. It's and not like I didn't have like a bad career. I mean, there were some messed up things about it, but it felt genuine. It didn't feel connected because it I wanted to do something with so much more meaning and be deeper.
That's it.
But I still needed to pay my mortgage. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I still need to make money. And if you want to be able to really service charities and do things like that, yes, you've got to donate your time, but you also got to like donate money. So, where
Mhm.
does that come from?
Yeah, and exactly. So I created a lot of free resources that people love. And then I started talking about, what do you want to do with your story? And people really lit up about that. They're like, well, yeah, I've always wanted to do something. And so that's how the ball started rolling. And so you and I created this thing that we offer to people and still is offering to people who want to do something when someone they love has passed and they want to do something meaningful. Because I got to tell you this, Antonio's death for me put a magnifying glass on life. Our time is not unending, right? So what do you want your life to be like? I just lost one of the most important people in my life, my firstborn son. So what do I want my life to look like? Because I'm going to die too. We're all going to die. But what do you want to leave behind? How do you want to improve the world? What do you want your legacy to be? Antonio didn't get to think about that, but I get to. And so the people in my community, they get to do that too. So how do you want that to look like? What do you want to be remembered for? And how do you want to impact the world while you still get to be here?
And how do you want to live your life on the days, the months, the years, however long each of us has left? How do you want to live that? Want to live it in a soul sucking job? Do you want to live that doing something that creates meaning and makes you money? What lifestyle is important to you? Maybe before you've experienced this life altering incident, whatever it is, maybe you were grinding it away and burning the candle at both ends. It grief does wake you up to stuff, and I know I shared with you my dear longtime mentor and friend, Dr. Alex Kadavi, and I love saying his name.
It is a
And
fun name.
and by the way, he would also love it. He was in the press a lot and he loved that too. And he earned that MD, after his name. So I like saying it. But after his path, when he passed, and it was sudden, totally, I mean, he got sick, but the last person you'd think would get sick, and he died days of his 50th birthday. It woke me up to some things in looking, like you said, a magnifying glass on your life. What did Antonio's death wake you up to? Like, if you're being in true humility, some ways maybe you were operating or not operating or holding yourself back, that you're like, okay, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. So I talk about it like this. I became more bold and more benevolent. So the things that I used to allow to bother me, I just like, whatever, like the haters, I'm like, whatever, you don't get it. Bold in that I'm going to speak my truth. And it's okay if you don't agree with me. It's okay. I'm going to show up and I'm going to offer something to help grievers. It's okay if you think I'm trying to take advantage of grievers, because there's somebody who needs that. So that's in the business. Personally, it's helped me just to be a better wife and a better mom, because those little things that I used to be like, oh, how come you're not doing this or that? I'm just like, it's not a big deal. My relationship with you is more important than my getting my rights to you making the bed. I'll bring it up, but I won't get all crazy about it, because I want them to have a great experience and memory of their mom and their wife too. So it's changed me like that.
What have you seen that has happened with people that you have helped utilize their passions, their story, and turn it into a business? And not a business, by the way, we might add, that like, oh, I've got to, open a restaurant. Nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people want to do that, but that's not your thing. Your thing is truly like a work from home, work wherever you want business model. And this is not, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is not a 40-hour work week model either. It's not, oh, you do nothing and you make money. That's not true. But this is something that works with your life and helps support your life versus sucking from it. So, what have you seen happen for people who have really embraced this and have followed through and actually like done the things and have seen what's on the other side? What does that look like?
I think the most important thing is to do something in life that fulfills you, whether that's volunteering or business, but that's the biggest thing I've seen is that people have a fulfillment. I'm not going to say of the hole in their heart, but it has given meaning and purpose to this tremendous loss or whatever they're going through, that they're doing something meaningful to bring light back into those corners of their life. So I would say fulfillment, which I think soul sucking jobs, I remember in corporate, not so fulfilling, but where you can do something that is fully aligned or fully connected with who you are and how you want to show up and your story. It's like you work 80 hours a week and be like, I love this because it's so much of your passion. Not that you have to, but it's so just passion that people have around it is just amazing.
That's true because there's times where if you really counted how many hours I worked on certain days, it looks insane, but I'm so lit up and I'm feel like labor, it feels good. It's life-giving, not life-draining. And I mean, there is no business in the world where you're not going to have some days where everything feels draining, right? That's just
Sure.
part of life. Even if you were someone who won the lotto, never had to work again, you would also have days that were just draining.
Yeah, because that's life, right? I think that we need to embrace difficulty as normal. But when you have this passion, like I do, you continue to go. You take breaks when you need to, but you continue to go because the goal is so clear and the purpose is so powerful that when those hard times come, you accept them for what they are and then you continue forward.
You're someone who, ever since I first met you, that always seeks guidance. You invest time, energy, and money in anything that you want to do.
Mhm.
Why is that? It's you don't sit back and like sit for years and go, maybe I should do this and I want to do this. Pretty quickly you go from I want to meet this goal and who can I hire to help me get there? What's your thought process there? Because not everyone thinks like that. And quite frankly, I want more people to think like that. And that can sound self-serving. I mean, in any area of your life. I feel that, especially women, we sit in struggle and self will far too long and waste so much time and so much of our energy and cause so much stress on ourselves because we should be able to figure it out ourselves. Or, oh, I should be spending that kind of money. Like there's something wrong with spending money on a goal that you want to pursue.
Yeah, and there are people there. So a couple of things. First, I don't like to waste time, energy, or money. Those are so incredibly valuable to me that investing to me in anything, whether it's my health or my business or a relationship, has dividends that you can't even imagine. And so I don't like to waste time, energy, or money. And as women, we tend to put ourselves last. And I think that's, I guess, like, admirable in one way, but you can invest when you invest in yourself, your business, your health, whatever it is, you're actually putting your family first and your family's goals first. If you have a family, if not, it's your own family. I just don't like to waste. I don't like to waste time, money, energy, opportunity, skills, whatever it is. So our first time we connected, it was on an online thing. Then I'm like, I'm jumping into the mastermind. Like I just see the value in investment and whether it's money, time, or energy, do it wisely. Don't waste because again, even now, it's even more of a magnifying glass. You don't know what you're going to have a day, week, a year from now. And the biggest thing is regret. I hate regret. And yeah, I'll have regrets, but I don't like to regret when I could have made a choice to do something, whether it's work with you or invest in something for my health, spend time with my husband. Let me just tell you about that. Like I say yes more now to him to going out than ever before because he's very social and I like,
He is very social. He is like the true
yes,
Italian social
yes,
butterfly.
but I was missing out, right? Next weekend is not promised. And if he's inviting me out this weekend, then I'm going. Right. And I don't mean inviting me out. I mean, like he goes out more than I like to. He goes out to this and he's like, do you want to come? I'm like, no, I'm exhausted. I want to stay home. But I say yes, more often to these things that are just whatever. But because I get an opportunity to spend time with him, but also with other people. So the bottom line to your question is I don't like to waste time, money, or energy because you don't know if you'll have the opportunity to do something in the future with any of those, whether it's your health, your business, your relationships, whatever.
Why do you think that there are so many people who stay in this stuckness position? You know, like they keep themselves in their own cage. They focus on all these reasons why they can't. Because I'm picturing some people, even listening to this, going, well, that sounds nice. I would love to be able to do that. But, and then they start listing all the reasons why they can't and all the roadblocks instead of going, I want that. I see that you have that and I want to find out more.
Well, it has to be fear of something, fear of their lack of ability, fear of what other people will think about them, fear what if it doesn't work out, fear what if it does work out. It's fear. And you're an expert in the mindset because that would be me. That would be me. I'd be afraid of something. But when you get your life flipped up on your head, the biggest fear that happened to me, the biggest fear that could happen to me already did. What
So
else can,
your with fear has dramatically changed.
oh my gosh, when the worst thing in the world happens to you, what can happen? Bring it on.
And you're still here.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't die when I did cold calls. I didn't die when I reached out to a prospect. I didn't die when I did my presentation about, taking your story and making a business. I'm still here and I'm going to do whatever I can do while I still have breath in my mouth because at the end of the day, I get to, and my son didn't, and I want to honor what I still get to do because he didn't.
This is so beautiful. And I want to acknowledge you for being someone who is a guiding light for people, whether it's grief through death or grief through divorce or some other health thing or hardship. And you are definitely someone who has an approach to it that's realistic, but also empowering, because it keeps people moving, even if it's crawling. It keeps people in the game of life and not staying stuck and taking yourself out,
Mm.
but while still honoring the grief process. And I'm imagining that is the last thing that you thought you would be positioned to do by God in this lifetime.
You know, you're right. And before my son died, I'd been through some hard stuff in my life. And I'm like, okay, check box. Melanie went through something really hard like 20 years ago. And then this happens. I'm like, all right, well, what I get to choose. I want to underline this talk by you get to choose. It's so much power in choice. And you don't have to feel like it. You just have to know, okay, XYZ, time, money, energy, life, parenting, whatever it is, you still get to choose how you're going to show up and what you can still do with the life that you have.
I love that. Well, I'm sure there's quite a few of you who want to now know about her business model, want to check out the grief account and all the things. So everything is inside the show notes. You can swipe up and access all of that here in the description on YouTube on Project Me TV. So make sure you go connect. Send her a DM, let her know what has come up for you and connect. Because you even making that connection, even though you're behind a screen, clearly is so healing. I know it's healing for me. Yes, being in person is very powerful and important, but sometimes we don't have the energy or the space for that. And just knowing you're not alone in what you're navigating changes the game. That in of itself really can get you moving again and being back into the motion of life because you're still here. You're because you are supposed to be here for however long and honoring that and blowing that off and staying in a victim mode and not truly going, no, I am here and there's something more I'm supposed to be doing about it. I mean, that's kind of, to me, that's like dishonoring your life and even the people who aren't here with us.
Yep. It's a gift. When we embrace what we have as a gift, it changes how you perceive everything.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I
Thank you.
love you. I want to close today's episode by dedicating it to Melanie's son, Antonio, whose life and legacy continue to ripple through the work that she's doing every single day. If you or someone you love is navigating grief, Melanie has created resources and a beautiful grief support account on Instagram that you will find linked inside the show notes. Please don't keep this conversation to yourself. Share this episode with someone you know who could use it right now. Sometimes the right words at the right time can make all the difference to somebody. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you so much. Be sure to go check out Selling at Scale. Go to projectmewithtiffany.com/pre-launch sale. You can swipe up. Everything we've talked about today, again, is in the show notes in the description here on YouTube at Project Me TV.